Welcome, everyone. This is Trey. This is the 15th of February, 2016, and I'm here with a new friend, Tonya Galaxy. And uh, we were both in a thread here a little while ago, and she made a comment about how she felt like she could deal with my argument. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but I invited her to come and didn't really give us a topic. But anyway, I'm glad to meet you, Tonya. I don't really know you. I was wondering if you might be able to say a little bit about yourself. There's anything interesting that might be you could tell us about yourself. I've seen your avatar, but I don't know you at all. Really, I don't even know if have we interacted before at all.
I don't think so. The first time I ever saw you was, gosh, I think you were talking to, was it Scientist Sam? Is that?
Oh yeah, that was recently. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. I didn't watch the whole thing. So that was my first experience with you. So, and in the thread you're referring to where I said I think I could take you. Arcane had said that he hasn't met one atheist that Trey hasn't wiped the floor with. So I said, I bet I could take him. So here we are.
So you're an atheist then? So we know that.
I am. I've been an atheist for about a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in May.
Okay.
Before that, I was a fundamentalist Christian most of my life.
What could you tell me a little bit what you mean by fundamentalist Christian? I got food in my beer.
I was of the camp that took the Bible almost entirely literally.
Well, then you're not as fundamentalist as me because I take it all literally.
Well, the only things I don't take literally is just this is the part that people like to split hairs about. But, when people are describing dreams in the Bible and things, symbology, stuff like that, obviously I don't take that like actually literally. But you know what I mean?
I guess what I mean when I say I take the Bible literally, I'm going to take it in the sense in which each genre is written or intended. Like, for example, Psalms is not written in the same way that First Timothy is written. First Timothy is didactic; it's for teaching, and Psalms is in a poetry category of the Bible. So I'm going to read those differently, but that doesn't mean I don't take it literally. When you say literal, you don't mean in a literal wooden sense. You just say you believe it is in fact authoritative, and it is from God that is His word. Were you King James only? I'm just curious about that. King James only Bible?
No, I almost was. Whenever I did study, I would use the King James because I thought that was, the most accurate and the best tool to use, especially when doing word studies and stuff like that.
Okay, so you were Baptistic, right?
Yes, I was raised Baptist, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm a Reformed Baptist. I'm like a Calvinistic Baptist. So.
Oh, okay.
And I came from the Charismatic movement, actually. That's where I was became a Christian in that, and then I slowly over time, changed my mind to different things and migrated into where I'm at right now. So anyway, it's very nice to meet you, and thank you for agreeing to do this. So could you tell me a little bit about your perspective? Tell me about how did you come to the point where you said there is no God, I guess?
Well, it all started with me watching this show. Well, this is what kind of got one of my feet out of the door. My other foot was firmly planted inside the door at this time. But I was watching this show called Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey, the new one with Neil. And I finally started to understand more about this evolution. I hadn't looked into it a whole lot before that because I was kind of, I don't want to say afraid to look into it, but I just didn't because I didn't believe evolution. So then when I finally kind of understood it better, how it worked, the process it took, all of that, it made sense to me. And then I realized how small this planet really is in the grand scheme of things. And then I had the thought that the Bible and the idea of the gods that we have here on this planet, most of your theistic gods, just seemed very small to me. And that's what started me to really start to question things. And then, of course, I started questioning the moral character of God from the Old Testament and stuff. I haven't even gotten to Jesus yet. Like, I haven't even just, explored that yet. I'm still in the process of dealing with like the Old Testament God and trying to make that make sense for me. And I just couldn't do it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's quite a bit of stuff there. So for you, um, learning about Darwinian evolution helped to give you an explanation where a creator is not necessary, and then dealing with the harsh nature of Yahweh in the Old Testament provided doubts and caused you to go in the direction of atheism. Would that be correct?
Yep, that sounds right.
Okay. So from your perspective, have you heard my argumentation at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I'm not, let me see how to say this. As far as I can understand, I've never had a serious counter to my argument. And I've spoken to most people here on the YouTube venue that are on the lower level, on the pedestrian level where we're at. Ozzy won't even talk to me. I have to corner him. I cornered him about a week ago, but I think it was on that Scientist Sam. Actually, toward the end, he came in. He'd always talk about it behind my back, but he won't talk to me face to face. So I was able to corner him there. But how do you justify the existence of yourself since in fact you are dependent for your existence, without appealing to something that has the nature of self-existence?
Okay, let me make sure I understand your question. Mm-hmm. Why do I think I exist?
How do you think you exist? And you can the standard argument is, well, my parents procreated and I was born, but that's not really a question I'm asking, because then I want you to go back to your parents, and I want you to keep on going back and justify how something that happens can happen itself into existence before it exists.
Well, if you're talking about like the first life, as far as I understand what has happened, and of course I'm taking this on faith. I'm not afraid to admit that, because obviously I don't know. But from what I've learned, millions and millions of years ago, maybe billions, I don't know, a long time ago, there was a time on this planet where the circumstances were just perfect for a certain like atom, molecule, whatever, to start reproducing itself. And when that started happening, that's what started the process of evolution, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well, I'm not really referring to the beginning of life. I'm referring to the beginning of contingent existence. Contingent means dependent for its existence. If you have you ever, if you go to a building, they have to have a contingency plan for like a tornado or a fire or something like that. And they say, if there's a fire, everybody, go to your nearest exit or whatever like that and gather outside or something like that. That's a contingency plan. And what that is that's a plan that cannot take place unless it is that upon which it depends for it to happen. So a fire contingency plan is dependent upon a fire in order for it to happen. Okay. Now, in this universe, there are only two types of being. You've got self-existent being, and you've got contingent being. And contingent being is dependent being, and that means that which is changes, that which is dependent for its existence. And say, for example, you as the inquirer, or me as an inquirer, I am dependent in my existence. And I'm asking you to give a justification for dependent existence coming into existence without it being before. In other words, it doesn't exist, and then it does exist. How can it create itself before it exists? And what I'm making an argument for is that there must be a being that has self-existence, that doesn't change, that is not subject to anything, that must bring all contingency being into existence. And if it were not for that, and so our being is dependent for its existence. And I'm saying that if it weren't for that upon which we depend, we would not exist. And you'd say, well, yeah, I depend on food, I depend on sunlight and all that stuff. Yes, but what about the food itself? And what about the sunlight itself? Keep extrapolating back. None of those things can exist unless a self-existent creator makes them and gives them existence. Otherwise, it would not be.
Well, I think it would go back to what I said before. I know you said you didn't want to talk about, or you weren't really just referring to the very beginnings of life, but see, I think that that's exactly what you're
No,
asking me
no,
about.
I'm talking about the beginning of existence that changes. So, in other words, you're saying that life began. I'm talking about before life, way before that. I'm talking about those materials that are changing before life ever came about. That's what
Okay,
I'm
so
asking.
how those materials that even started life even got here is
Yes, 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 and they're changing. So that which changes cannot be eternal.
okay.
It
Well, I
happens.
mean, the process in which those things got here, I think, can be explained with, you know, astrophysics and just the what we know, um, as far as how like the Earth was actually formed and all of that. So,
Yeah, but that's not answering the question. You're trying to answer the process. I'm not talking about the process. I'm talking about the ontology or the being of that stuff that from which you said everything came. It's not eternal. It had to come into existence. How could it have created itself before it existed?
well, if I'm not mistaken, I think a lot of things that exist, like elements and whatnot, were formed from different events that happened in space, like when stars are made, oxygen is created. You know, there's certain things that happen, uh, that can cause things to exist, bonds to happen.
Okay, but I'm I need to go farther back. I mean, you're jumping in the middle of the game and saying that's how it happened. I'm saying no. I'm talking about the beginning. Where did the stuff come from? Where did the material that you're saying is affecting each other in order to be? Where did that come from? It's changing. It's not eternal. It had to come into existence. Where did it come from?
So, like the singularity you're asking about, like where did that come from?
What is the singularity?
The the point at which the universe started to expand. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, okay, so you're talking about the singularity of the universe before the Big Bang, I guess you're referring to. Um, I am referring to it's not eternal because it happens. Okay, stuff that changes is not eternal. Time is just measurement of matter moving. That's all it is. I mean, we measure our days as we look at the planets, moving in relation to each other, or the movement of an electron around an atom. That's how we measure time. That'd be the atomic clock or the orbital clock. But that's all time is matter relating to motion. And so, in a sense, when matter began, that's when time began. And some people say it doesn't make sense to ask a question, what came before the Big Bang, because there was no time. But actually, that's the question of all questions, because suddenly you have nothing, or you want to say the singularity. The singularity is not self-existent, because it changes. Self-existence cannot be changed, by definition. It's self-existent means it's not dependent for anything else, and that means that nothing can act upon it, in order to affect it. It's not an effect; it's a cause. So you're defining all universe as the singularity, which was an effect by definition because it happened. And I'm saying, what caused that?
I wish I knew. I would like to continue. Can you give me just a minute? I'm so sorry. My son's supposed to be taking a nap and
Oh,
he
you're
is
fine.
now awake, but let me try to lay him down. Give me
No
one
problem.
minute.
Sure. You know, hold on just a minute. I gotta take something out of the oven. I'll be right back. Hello.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay, so the singularity. No, I have no idea what caused that. And I know there's people who think that it all came from nothing. I think that's bullshit. I don't believe that. That's not even possible.
Right.
Something caused it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure what. Of course, you think it's God. But even if it was God, there's a problem with that, because then you have to ask the question, okay, well, what caused that?
No, not that.
But of course, you'll say God is eternal, which we cannot prove that.
Sure, I can. That's what the law of non-contradiction is all about. It's a proof. Do you agree that logical proofs can give us certainty? In other words, I can prove God that exists. That's the whole point of my argument, that if an effect exists, then there must be a cause, because causality says that every effect must have a cause. And so if you have an effect, you must have a cause by definition. The only way you can define an effect is to say it is that which arises from a cause. And the only way you can define a cause is to say that which gives rise to an effect. And so to talk about an effect without a cause is nonsense. And it also violates the law of non-contradiction, which is the very foundation of all inquiry. You can't do any inquiry unless you have the laws of thought. And that's how we test our statements about things. You know, science is all you're doing about, and science is you're predicating about things. And that's what logic is too. When you're making arguments from sensory perception, you're saying like, all dogs have 4 legs. You want to say something like that. You know, you empirically verify dogs running around 4 legs. And of course, sometimes they're cut off, but generally speaking, say, all dogs have 4 legs. You're predicating about dogs. You're saying dogs, the main thing, and then you're saying something about that dog. And what the laws of logic do is it measures the relationship between the subject and the predicate. And if those don't match up, then it makes no sense. For you could say that, I could say that I am a father and I am a son. In a statement, you could say, well, that's true. I'm a father because I have children, but I'm also a son to my father. But if I say at the same time, in the same relationship, I'm a father and a son, both to my son at the same time, the law of non-contradiction says, no, you can't do that, or the law of identity. You have to have a proper relationship between the subject and the predicate of a statement. And that's all science is anyway. And so when you do away with the law of non-contradiction, the laws of thought, there is no inquiry. You can't make anything. And so if you want to say the universe had a beginning, it started, it was an effect, you must appeal to a cause. And by logical necessity, that cause could not have happened because it itself would be an effect. So logically speaking, you've got to have something with the attribute of self-existence. Now, you may not like his name being Yahweh or something, but the very fact that a self-existent creator exists is absolutely axiomatically true. Now, somebody's going to say, Trey, it's a presupposition because, yeah, axiomatically. I'm saying it logically follows from the law of non-contradiction.
Well, I guess the problem I would have with that is that you are assuming that whatever caused this Big Bang to happen, whatever caused the universe to start, you're saying that it was an eternal being that caused that.
Yes, it has to be.
I don't think it has to be. And here's one reason why. Because we know about black holes, and they in themselves are kind of like a singularity. They're bringing all of this stuff around them into one point, and that's why they're black holes. So you don't need a God to be able to do that. You know,
I don't understand how that follows.
Physics. When things collapse on themselves, that's just physics. I don't see how you need this eternal intelligent thing to have started the Big Bang. I think that would be something you would have to prove is true. Like for me, I don't know what caused the Big Bang, but I certainly have no reason to believe it was some kind of intelligent, eternal being.
Are you intelligent?
I think so, yes.
So do you think that your intelligence arose unintended?
No, I feel like you're dodging my question.
Oh, how so?
Because I'm telling you that I don't think that you have any basis to hold the position that an intelligent creator caused the Big Bang to happen.
Okay, well, there are two categories. There's intelligent, and then there's creator. And I just latched on to intelligent because obviously intelligence exists, and unintentionality cannot intend intentionality before it exists. So, and then you said a creator, and I've already demonstrated that by the law of non-contradiction and the law of causality. Causality says that an effect cannot happen without a cause. And you're saying yes, there's an effect, but I don't want to posit a cause. And I'm saying you just lost the argument right there.
Well, you're jumping from cause to being creator and an intelligent one.
Yes.
And I don't that's what I'm having a problem with. How are you making that jump?
Okay, so you concede then that if an effect exists, there must be a self-existent cause that gives rise to it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. So now your problem is you just don't like the fact that it's volitional. Would that be fair to say?
What's
or personal?
that?
Personal,
Oh.
Volitional is will. It has a will, or it's.
Oh no, I don't see any reason to believe that it would or does.
Okay, good. Now, so you agree though that you yourself are a contingent willer or a contingent person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that unintentionality intended intention before it existed in order to make it to be.
Well, I mean, it just happened that way.
Well, that's just a just so story. I mean, it doesn't make sense though, because unintentionality cannot intend anything. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I guess the problem I'm having is with your word intention.
Okay. Well, you've conceded that you're an intender, right?
Well, can you just define that? What do you mean exactly?
That you have intention, that you have
like goals. I have goals and dreams and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. How does unintentionality intend intention in your world?
Well, it depends on what I'm.
You're violating the law of identity.
It depends on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It depends on what I experience in my life. Like if I experience certain things that might lead me on a path where, hey, I might have a goal to be a baker, or I might have a goal to be a doctor, or, it really depends on, your experiences in life, I guess.
Okay, but you're saying that all I need is one single intention, just one thing that is intended. In other words, one goal. If there's one goal, then there must be a self-existent goaler, because unintentionality cannot intend intention. You're violating the law of identity. Something cannot intend things and be unintentional at the same time in the same relationship.
So let me see if I'm understanding here. You're saying that because I exist and I have goals and dreams, therefore the universe started because it was intended to start by a creator.
A self-existent creator, yes, that's exactly right.
That's quite a jump.
Really?
Yeah.
It's called law of identity. I mean, you can't say that unintentionality is intentionality. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, but you're implying that this creator God intended to create the universe. And I don't see how you can get there.
But aren't you a dependent contender? I mean, intender? Don't you have intention, and aren't you dependent for your existence?
Me personally, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you justify that? Without violating the law of identity.
I just told you, because of different experiences in my life, make me think different things, make me go down different paths.
Okay. All right. Well, you're not giving a justification for it. You're just saying, I am the kind of intentional person, and I'm an intentional person, therefore intention exists. And I'm saying, how do you explain that arising without being intended? Because unintentionality is not intentionality.
Are you saying, how can I intend to do something if I hadn't thought about it yet?
No, I'm saying that you as an intending being, let's imagine that you're the only intentional being in the universe, okay?
Okay.
How did you happen as an intender? I don't want to say, if I say by accident, maybe is an accident is an intention gone wrong, but maybe that word will help you better. How can you come about by accident intentioned? Because there is no such thing as intention. Well, how did unintentionality intend you to exist? Because it doesn't intend by definition.
I don't know if this is going over my head, or I'm not understanding what you're saying, or what.
Well, I'm just saying, let's imagine a continuum, okay, of existence. And
Okay.
the only thing we can understand is time, change. That's just the beings that we are. So we have to look at it in view of time, even though we know that time must have had a beginning, because matter is not eternal, at least if it's contingent. So you've got this continuum, and you're saying there's nothing, okay, or there's no intentionality, and all of a sudden there's intentionality. How can this part intend this part when it does not have that which is necessary to do this part? It's unintentional. How does it intend you if it's unintentional?
Well, what makes you think it doesn't have the beginning part? I mean, obviously it does.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay. Well, you're saying that things can't intend anything. I can't intend anything because I'm saying there wasn't a creator that created me with the intention and purpose.
Well, I'm saying your being as an intentional being cannot exist if there's no such thing as objective intentionality, because unintentionality does not have the property of intention by definition. And so you're violating the law of identity. You're saying, like, off is on at the same time in the same relationship. Unintentionality, intentionality. You're saying they both exist at the same time in the same relationship, and you're violating the law of identity, which is an extrapolation of the law of non-contradiction.
So are you saying that, like, a cause, are you using that word like synonymously with intent?
I am saying that ultimately causality must be rooted in intentionality, because we have an effect with intention. So if there's an effect with intention, there must be a cause with intention.
Okay.
And that's my
So that's where we disagree. And I'm not saying that cause can't, make certain things happen. Like, there's certain circumstances of causes that can cause certain things to happen. And if you change anything about that, different things can happen. So there's always causes for things to happen. The problem I'm having with what you're saying is that you're putting some kind of intelligent being behind it, and I don't think that you can prove that, and I don't think that it's necessary.
Actually, I would say it is necessary. That's the whole point. It's self-existent. It's necessary existence. We are not necessary in our existence, but
yeah. So I think that this is really what this is a matter of somebody who is saying, okay, well, since we began to exist, there must have been a creator for it.
that's right.
And I mean, you're free to think that, but I can't see it. I don't, especially the specifically the biblical God and the creation story in that. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. What is it about the biblical God that doesn't make sense to you?
I feel like there's a lot of contradictions in the Bible. And the last like few years of my Christianity, I feel like I was trying to make sense of them all, and I did pretty good. I'm pretty good at twisting things and making them work to make me feel content, but I could never feel fully content, and I think it was because there was just so many contradictions. I couldn't make sense of it, and if I can't trust the book in which I'm getting all of my information from about this God, then I have a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Do you feel comfortable with the view that you have right now?
Comfortable?
Hmm?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I still have questions though. So I'm not content. I'm comfortable, but I'm not content. No.
Okay. All right. So, um, all right. I'm not sure where to go with this. Let me give you 4 options here. All right. If anything exists at all right now, there are only 4 possibilities. Number 1 is it is an illusion. Number 2, it is self-created. Number 3, it is self-existent. And number 4, it is created by something that is self-existent. Those are the only 4 possibilities. If there's anything that exists, it has to be one of those 4 issues. And number 1 is an illusion. We know that that's not true because we as the inquirer are not an illusion. We're asking the question right now. And since we are thinking, we know that we as an inquirer exist. So at least ourselves must exist. Otherwise, there's no inquiry. Number 2, that is self-created. That's a violation of law of non-contradiction. That means it must make it. This is kind of thing I'm pointing to with your intentionality just arising. Something cannot be and not be at the same time in the same relationship. It cannot create itself before it exists. It cannot pop out of nothing. It's nonsense. This is what Ozzy likes to push. And what he does is he equivocates nothing to mean something, and it fails. And then thirdly, you could say that which exists is self-existent. The problem with that is you could say, well, the universe is self-existent, but that which is self-existent is not subject to change. If it changes, then it by definition is contingent. It's dependent upon that which is expecting the change. And since everything that we know is changing, we know that it's not self-existent. So the final possibility is option 4. It is created by that which is self-existent, and that would be God.
Yeah, but then you jump to God. You jump to that being God.
Now, I'm talking about a self-existent creator at this time.
Right, which is God. Right?
Right. Yeah. But do you agree that here's the problem? I some of my more honest atheist friends will concede the point that there must be something with the attribute of self-existence. And really, once you do that, you've sold the farm. But they don't want to go with, and that seems like what you're doing right now. But they don't want to call it a God.
Well, of course we don't. No, I don't see, because the problem with that is, because I agree with what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. But the problem is that you're saying it's God. And what I think is that we just don't know yet. Like, I think that hopefully we will get to a point where we will be able to learn about, how the expanse started, like what caused the Big Bang to happen, because obviously something caused it to happen.
That is self-existent, right?
What was going on before the Big Bang happened? Like what caused, all of this matter to be condensed down to this singularity? What caused that? Those are valid questions, and they're ones we should keep searching out. But to jump that, it must have been this self-existing, intelligent design creator God, is a jump to me.
Okay.
I don't think you can do that.
Okay, well, so Stephen Hawking in Nature of Time and Space, I think it's around page 15 or 12 or something, he says, almost everyone now believes or agrees, almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang. And what he's saying is that matter came into existence at the Big Bang because, again, time is just matter relating to motion. And you got to ask yourself the question, how did that effect come into existence before it was if it is all there is, because it would, again, have to violate the law of non-contradiction. There's a principle called the principle of explosion. You can look it up on Wikipedia. And it basically says that once you deny the law of non-contradiction, and this is a lot of people like to do when it gets down to quantum mechanics, because the electrons act in really funny ways that we can't explain. So they say, oh, there's logic only works, the laws of logic, the way we understand them, only work except on a quantum scale or quantum level. The problem is it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're inquiring, once you deny the law of non-contradiction, and you the very opposite of what you are asserting also becomes true at the same time, and there's no such thing as inquiry. You can't, because there's no way to measure the relationship of the subject to the predicate. You can't predicate about anything, because the exact opposite is at the same time as well. And in order to say the law of non-contradiction does not hold, you've got to employ the law of non-contradiction. It's kind of funny. People think they're real being clever, but they're not. Anyway, I probably need to get back to work here, but thank you for entertaining me and allowing me to explain myself. And you've been very kind and an honest interlocutor, and you haven't been undesirable. So thank you, Galaxy, for having this time with me.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for talking with me. If I could just end with this, sure. I don't think that what I'm saying has violated that law of non-contradiction, because I'm not saying that, two things have to be true. I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is that just because the Big Bang happened, and we know that it did, and there was a singularity and everything all matter began to exist at that moment. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that all matter began at that moment, because it existed within the singularity before that. So, so I guess I don't see how I am violating that law.
Well, the problem is that you're saying the singularity is changeable, therefore it's not self-existent. So it doesn't change the problem. I mean, you still have the same problem. You just moved it back a step.
Now, when you say that, go ahead.
Can you hold a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did I mute myself? I hope I did.
Yeah, you did. I couldn't hear anything.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we could go on and on about this, and I'm sure that now that we're friends, we'll see each other on the internet and interact with each other. And we continue this conversation.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's an ongoing one, and it's kind of fun. It generates a little bit of excitement in the YouTube community. So hopefully we'll just continue on, and
I would love that. I could talk about this all day.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, thanks, Trey. It was nice to meet you.
Okay. We'll see you, Galaxy.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.